Hey everybody, welcome to the Wisco Boater channel. I'm Chad. As you can see behind me, the tugboat is done. I haven't posted a video in 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks, but I have been diligently working away at finishing the tugboat. And the video, the next half hour or so, 35 minutes, whatever this video runs, will be the culmination of the finishing touches on the tugboat. So it's done, it's ready to float. So enjoy this video, and the next one's gonna be launch day. And this episode will be all about basically the remaining items. So the rub rails as they go on, the bow eye, which I have just done. Bow eye is in place, as is the strap installed on the winch. Nice and sturdy. I added the side guides to the trailer, and I've also installed the battery gauge. It's the battery gauge is not hooked up yet, and there's no wires hooked up to the back of it at this point. I also have a battery switch that I will be installing. This will actually give me a key to turn the batteries on and off. So when if it's ever docked someplace and I'm not in it, I'll be able to take that little red key out. And I've got a package on the way from Overton's, which includes the eye bolts for the stern, for the straps. I've got fenders, cleats, tie-down straps, a bunch of stuff on the way from Overton's. So we'll have plenty to do when that arrives. I'll try to record each item as I go. Just didn't have the camera rolling this afternoon when I was doing the winch or the bow eye or the battery gauge. So I'll try to roll from now on. Okay, so I've got some white trim here to install. This is going to go around the edge of the window because I'm not putting windows in. It's going to be open, so this will kind of hopefully spruce the look up just a little bit, and hopefully this stuff isn't too terribly difficult to install. It says that it's good for 1/4 inch, so taking paint off. I'm not really liking that. I mean, the paint's gonna be where the paint's coming off. Not a big deal, you won't see it anyway, but all right, I've kind of figured out what works here. If I take an X-Acto blade and cut out the little part of the channel inside that would normally be the grip. Cut that out. Then it goes over the 1/4 inch plywood fairly easily, and I do believe it will stay in place. Need to take my pliers and cut it. Just like that. And then the pliers squeeze it, so now I can open it up just a little bit. I'm going to remove that one little piece of metal. This should go right up. Perfect. Now, there is a seam there obviously, but you're not really going to see it. And I'm going to keep all the seams up top on the top side in the middle. That looks awesome. All right, 2 thumbs up. All right, well, I'm back at it today. Got the trim done on all of the windows. This is looking so good. Really, really pleased with the way Pilot House turned out. And in the meantime, I took the rub rails down off of the where they were being stored. Got a coat of primer on those. I'll do a coat of black on those here shortly. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is get these floor pads out. These are exercise mats that I'm going to use for flooring down here. So I'm going to trace out some cardboard patterns and then get those cut out and maybe laid down. Here's what I've done so far with the interior padding, the foot padding. Got the front, well, the front middle pieces fit. So I'll set up the camera and then I guess I'll just let the video run to show how I do the backside here. Okay, I've got a piece cut. It should be pretty close. It actually fits pretty decent. Nothing I can really do about that seam showing there, but shouldn't really matter. This should be really comfortable. Covers up the wood nicely, so work on that side next. All right, this side I think should fit a little bit better. I don't know why. That looks great. All right, so here's what I'm working on now. This piece of cardboard I've roughly cut to the size of the rear bench. So what I'm going to do is take that piece of cardboard, get it shaped to the bench here, and then I will use that as a template for some foam, which will end up being the rear bench. So we've decided that the rear bench is just going to be a foam seat. It'll be removable, take it off while we're trailering the boat. Okay, here's where I'm at with the piece of cardboard. Pretty much have it fit to the curve. It's not perfect, but you don't really need it to be perfect for a piece of foam. So got a little bit of a gap right here, but from here to here in the center is the perfect length. And that side is not too bad, so I can now use this piece of cardboard as a template for some memory foam that I'll purchase somewhere and then have it covered in some marine vinyl. So, template for the rear bench, done. Okay, today I started out by putting the second coat of paint on the rub rails. Those will have to sit for another 24 hours before I put them on. But I did also buy bunch of stainless steel hardware today to put those back on. I think that will look awesome with the hardware showing, or the top of the carriage bolt anyway. And then I also bought a bunch of stainless steel 1-inch screws that will be used for my manila rope that I purchased. So what I'm going to do here, take the rope and line along the cabin here so that the color between the red and the white is covered up, and that makes that joint look much better anyway. So I'm going to do that all the way around the pilot house, and then also up along the around the bow where the deck meets the hull sides. So that's what I'm going to start working on right now. Got 100 feet of rope, should be more than enough. Tried to set up a camera angle using my ladder here to show what's going on, but that's about as high as I can get it, being comfortable with the phone not falling. So I'm just gonna have to kind of record this in segments. So what I've done initially here is just drilled some pilot holes for the screws to go in. The screws go through this hemp rope super easy. The first one's already in right there, using 1-inch screws with They're stainless with Hillman washers. That will keep this rope in place. Should be fairly easy running this all the way around. Got the rope installed all the way around the pilot house, and then it comes back up and around the bow. I ran it up and around the post, so just have a little decorative rope coming around the front. At some point, I will also run a piece of rope back down and then across here, back up, and then I'll either have a rope fender or a tire or something hanging off the front there. Also in this shot, you can see I've replaced the hardware with stainless steel on the gunnel molding, and I think that looks really, really nice rather than having the carriage bolt painted. So I did that in all 3 locations on both sides. The rubber rail will get the same treatment once those are dry tomorrow. But super, super happy with how this rope looks. I love it. All right, one more quick update for tonight. I started putting the trailer lights on. These are not wired yet. I just ran the wires from the front to the side markers. I think what I'm gonna do is end up putting lights on the back side of this, the trailer guide there, but I gotta buy some U-bolts to run across. And then other than that, I made the battery switch mount. I will prime all of this before it actually gets installed, but you can see the battery switch, that will be the on position. That's the off position. And then when it's off, I can take the switch or the key. It's not mounted yet, so I gotta be a little gentle with it, pulling it out. So that will be the off position. And with the key in hand, batteries are off, boat doesn't go anywhere. I'll throw some screws, 4 screws in here to mount this switch after I get this primed. But see, in the meantime, it is cut fairly accurately to size. So I need to get some primer out, paint that, and then I can install the switch. All right, new day, and this is kind of a big deal for a minor celebration. The rub rails are back on, and I was kind of fretting this a little bit because I was afraid that after I took these off that these would end up not taking the bent shape again when I reinstalled them. However, they went back on no problem, and the hardware, the stainless steel hardware, looks really, really cool with without being painted and exposed. So you see the inside here. I used acorn nuts, so there isn't any risk of anybody getting cut on a sharp end of a bolt. This side looks really good too. And everything's looking great. I'm really, really glad that I used wax paper to kind of give this wrinkled finish. I don't know, for some reason I just feel like a tugboat shouldn't look perfect. So I'm glad, I'm loving how wrinkly the finish is on this, making it look a little stressed. And honestly, this wasn't my intention to begin with, but when I took that wax paper off, or when I was putting the wax paper down, I should say, underneath it, I knew that it was going to be a little bit of a wrinkled finish, and I thought, well, maybe I'll sand it smooth to make it look nice, but I really love it. I think the wrinkled finish looks awesome. Even these seams you can see right here, that looks like a welded seam that you'd see on a regular, you know, full-size tugboat or a working ship or something. So this is looking really, really awesome. So I think now it's time to go back to work on brake lights maybe, or I did get my order from Overton's, well, most of my order. The fenders still aren't here, but seat swivels, cleats, bow eyes that'll mount on the stern, straps for the trailer. I've got quite a bit of stuff to do, but it's all finish work, and that's what this video is all about. I still gotta buy batteries, I still gotta buy seats, so I don't know if I'll include that in this video or not, but man, looking good. Last update for today and for this weekend, we have to run down to Illinois for a graduation party for our niece who's graduating high school. So I did get the lights mounted. I won't say installed. They are not yet wired, but they are mounted. I also put the battery switch in. This is battery disconnect, and put the well, they're called bow eyes, but these are on the stern for the rear straps. So they're in place. The tugboat is now officially secured to the trailer. These are probably quite overkill for the weight of this boat, but I love boat buckles. This isn't really doing anything. I might remove that. I actually might use this on the big boat just to protect the bottom paint on the back of the tug, or back of the big boat. So everything's looking really good. Say hi, Coda. Hello. No, say hi, Coda.
Hi.
Say hi, Coda.
Hi, Coda.
There you go. So the bow cleat is in place. This will be used to bring a rope through this hawse pipe or this hawse pipe, and then droop a fender over the edge there. And then I also installed one on that side for that hawse pipe, and one on this side for that hawse pipe. All right, today I'm working on the front floor pieces. I've got cardboard templates mostly cut out to fit up inside there. A little bit of trimming left to do. Once I get those pretty close to accurate, I will then take and transfer the pattern I get onto the remaining pieces of floor foam and get those fit and put in for the final time. All right, you can see the pieces are pretty much fit. There's a little gap here, a little 1/4 inch gap, so I'm going to just make a note to add a 1/4 there. And then over here, you can't really see where I'm at, but I'm adding 1 inch there. So what I just did over on that side, same thing over here. There's about 1.5 inch gap between the edge of the cardboard and the wall. So I'm adding 1.5 inches on that side. Everything else fits really nice. Let me show you. That's what I was talking about. Add 1 inch there, add 1.5 inches there, and 1/4 inch there. That'll fill that gap. Everything else fits pretty well. I'll make the cut nice and smooth on the floor pieces. This area right here, I'm gonna paint red, and that's just gonna be like the keep out area. Keep your feet away from the red. Yeah, fits good. So I'll pull these cardboard pieces out, get the floor pieces cut, and if I have enough left over, I'm gonna do a piece up there as well, but I'm not sure I'm gonna have enough left up there. All right, after several iterations and fittings, I have the front floors done, fit. Everything looks really good. I'm gonna take them back out, paint that area red, and then put some carpet tape on the back side and get these things stuck down for good, after the red paint dries, of course. And I have one more piece left of this that just might fit up front. We'll see. That might be a little bit difficult to get fit, but I'm gonna try. All right, while I wait for paint to dry, Nep'Toon has registration numbers, both sides. Kind of hard to see this over there. And right up in this area here, I will put the name Nep'Toon, and then I'll also go across the stern of the boat. Didn't quite get the height right on both sides. It's pretty close, I guess. Not perfect, but unless you're looking at it right from the front, you're never going to see both sides at the same time. So there's one little milestone completed. Registration number's on. Name should be going on here soon. All right, rear bench pad is cut out. Looking good. It fits perfectly using that cardboard template that I made a little while ago. This is gel infused memory foam from basically just a twin mattress pad, and I'll get this covered with some vinyl, and I'll also do the same thing with the front bench here. And then whatever I have left over out of this section here, I'll just make some additional throwable pads to use for extra cushion, or to like put up against the wall over there to sit sideways. I think this will work out quite nice. All right, so I got a little excited because I realized that the rear bench template, that it worked out perfect for the front bench template. It just needed a straight line across rather than a curve. So both pads are cut out and fit. So now I just need to find an upholstery shop and get these things covered. All right, well today I went and bought batteries. So I'm working on getting the 24 volt system set up here. Two 12 volt batteries. Got the battery switch there to the, I'm gonna switch the negative. So that cable comes to the switch and then up to this battery, and then I'll jumper positive to negative here to create 24 volts. And then this wire, which I can't complete today because I'm gonna put a 50 amp fuse in line. It's gonna get mounted on the wood right there. So I'll split this line into a 50 amp breaker and then over to the positive lead on this side. So that will complete the system. I'm working on charging. It had 12.6 volts from the store, but might as well get it charged up to a green light. And then tomorrow I'll get the fuse installed and finish wiring this up and test the motor. Kind of looks like a mess right now though. This should be a fairly big moment. I have the batteries installed and wired. My 50 amp fuse came in today, so I installed that and then ran the positive lead, well, straight from the control head to the fuse to the batteries, so the trolling motor is protected. And then I ran the jumper from let's see, negative on that side, positive on this side, creating 24 volts. And like I said, positive goes to the control head, negative goes to the switch, and then the switch goes to the control head as well. So I'm going to turn the trolling motor on for the very first time right now. Okay, that creates the connection. Now we should have power. The boat has power. Well, that's pretty awesome. To see the trolling motor working as it should means I've got everything wired up properly, and that is a pretty major, massive milestone. I have the battery life indicator all wired up. If I can get this thing down in here. The connections are pretty simple, and it actually does not turn on until this switch is turned on. So you've got a positive wire here, this little pink wire, going to positive lug on that battery, and the negative is this white wire here, which is connected to the bottom of the switch, which is then connected to the negative on this battery. So it is measuring 24 volts, and when I turn this switch on, I will get an indication right here. It'll do a little flash down to 0 and then back up to full. There we go. So that's basically the fuel gauge for the boat. So I can always monitor where my batteries are at throughout the day and know when they need to be charged. Pretty awesome. All right, lots to report in this nearly last segment of the final details of Nep'Toon, the little micro tugboat. So let's get to it. I'll show you what I've done, and just about to wrap up. So I've got the tire fenders installed. What I did was, each one of these, I took a 3/4 inch spade bit and just cut a hole in the tire, and then used the manila hemp rope to run it through, and just tied a simple knot on the inside here. And then this screw right there actually goes through the tire up on the inside. Kind of see it there? That will kind of keep things from, that'll keep the tires from flopping around when I'm trailering it. They're still going to flop this way a little bit, but at least there's not going to be any strain on the rope and the knot coming undone. So all of the tire fenders are done. I put a double pusher fender on the front here, and the rope is just for decoration. The fenders are actually secured to the stem with screws, and then the two tires are put together with bolts. So four fenders on either side, two on the front. And the other thing to report is the horn is installed, and just today got the horn battery sitting up there. And this is pretty cool. This is a panel, switch panel off of the Glastron V167 that I restored a couple years ago. Well, I finished it last year, I guess, but this switch panel came out of that boat. I redid basically a modern switch panel, and I decided to keep this just because I thought, well, maybe someday I'll have a use for it. All that's being used for the tugboat at this point is that horn button. The other ones are for lights. Here we go. Here's the horn. That's loud. So really, all I have left to do is up here in this section, right here. We're going to put the name Nep'Toon, and then back here across the transom, we're going to have Nep'Toon. And we've got a font picked out that's kind of cartoonish. My neighbor, who lives in that house right there, does vinyl. So we're going to get that cut out here pretty soon. And that will be the last step in getting the tugboat finished. Kind of weird. It's almost done. All right, we're getting ready to cut out the name on the Cricket, right? Cricket, that's what it's called. We have some good vinyl here. We're putting down on the cutting board. And the Cricket will cut out the name, and then we'll weed it, and hopefully we'll get it good on the first try. Sweet.
Cute. That looks nice.
Okay. time to finish up and put the name on the boat. It's kind of weird to be at this point, but a little bit sad to be done with a project, but also glad to be done and getting ready to have some fun on this thing at the same time. The name of the boat, Nep'Toon. Also put it up front. And the reason I did that is because the John Purvis has its name up on the bow as well. And the finishing touch for the boat was to put a depth scale, or a draft scale I should say, on both sides. So that's in inches, and it is accurate. It starts at 12 because the bottom of the trolling motor, the tip, the skeg I guess we'll call it, is actually 12 inches below the bottom of the boat. So there it is. Finished tugboat, except for the seats, which those are out of my control, but it is launchable at this point, and I may just do that if the seats aren't quite ready. The cushions are over there, but until I get the seats back, the tugboat is considered finished. Next video is launch. Been a great experience. I highly recommend doing it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, send me some comments. Thanks for watching. Happy boating. We'll see you on the water.